So,
Yeah, we have a slight cool front too here, so it's been like in the 80s um versus the 100 degrees we normally get in the summer. So, yes. Uh
Aaron's never heard of that.
yeah, ha ha ha. Yeah, so so excited you're joining me. We've had some great discussions of the episodes, and so I'm looking forward to hearing your take.
Cool, cool.
Good. Let's see. Let me pull up my notes.
First of all, just say, Jesse, how sorry we already heard the news coming out of Texas. I believe that's your home state.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
Absolutely
It's
awful. So sorry to hear that.
yeah. Uh yeah, he's yeah, it's just very sad and um yeah, it's just heartbreaking to see this
Yeah,
so much flooding is just it is it's so quick and
mhm.
fast and and people think that they can drive through things and it just
Yeah,
it's just yeah, so anyway, yeah, feeling very very sad for the
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for those kind words. Let's get make sure I'm recording. I am. All right. um any questions before we get started?
No, not really. Well, actually, you'd mentioned you've done some so far. What albums have you covered? Or
Yeah, so let me look. um and I'm gonna have some duplicates. So
sure.
yeah, I've got one person who's already done Inyo, someone somewhere north of Nashville, LA Garage, and then I had two other people do the Streets of Philadelphia session.
Okay.
So I'm kind of looking forward to hear your take. And then I have another person wanting to do Inyo. And then I have a Twilight Hours, Perfect World, and Faithless signed up.
Yeah. Okay. I've only really I've been concentrating on the Philadelphia sessions, and I've listened to Faithless as well. The rest I haven't paid much attention to so far. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, well, that's a common theme. Um, the people, and I really appreciate it. Everyone who's been on the show has said, I've just been focused on the one I'm going to talk about because I want to be ready. And
yeah,
now then
yeah,
that I'm done, I'm going to be able to look at the others.
yeah, yeah,
So, like the guy who did somewhere north of Nashville, he said he is not just for the podcast. He says I'm trying to let him breathe.
yeah,
Just study one or two at a time, so I can really like the same way you would do if it was just the new album solo,
yeah, yeah.
they just are doing it. So good. All right. All right, here we go. Counting us down in three, two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are continuing a series of episodes. We are talking tracks to the lost albums. And I have my guest, as I often say, one of my favorite type of episodes is when we're timey-wimey. It's my morning, it's his afternoon. John is joining me all the way from glorious Ireland to talk lost albums. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. And thanks for your kind word about Ireland. So it's
Yeah,
nice to be
no, no,
called
no.
glorious.
Yeah. So, first off, tell us a little bit about yourself and then talk about the album you want to discuss.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my name's John. I'm 50 next year, so I'm kind of in betweener in the Springsteen sort of age group of fans, I think. So I came sort of to his music as a big fan from about 2000, and then obviously with the rise in 2003. I wouldn't describe myself as a super fan because I've met many super fans over the years. I've only done 12 shows all here in Ireland, North and South, and I've read about the Philadelphia sessions on and off over the years, and heard about different bootlegs coming out and so forth. When we finally got rewarded with tracks two, And you had mentioned you were going to do this podcast, and I would love to do the Philadelphia sessions because it was my go-to out of the whole pack. So yeah, very, very excited. Very, very excited.
I am so thrilled you're on here. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't yet had a guest from Ireland or UK or
Yeah.
Europe talking about any of the sets, so this is perfect. I do think it's funny that in our world, um, we think someone who's only gone to 12 shows and versus they're outside of the Springsteen world. It's like you've seen one guy 12 times. I mean, that's crazy. And we're like, I just hit 20 my last show. And it's like
Yeah.
like we're like, and anyone else would say, "Oh, you're a massive fan," but it is I don't know how much you're familiar with like Microsoft products, right? Like if you work in an office, Excel, and they're always saying, well, rate yourself as an expert, what level? And I always go, I'm mediocre at best. And then they'll see me do stuff and go, no, you know a lot. I go, no, there's so much more else in this program that I just kind of put myself. Yeah, I am not a bootleg guy, so everything on this box set's new for me. Um,
All right.
so
Okay.
yeah, so I'm really looking forward to, kind of exploring this and doing this. So, why don't you share a little bit more about the bootlegs you'd heard and what you'd read about these Philadelphia sessions, the Streets of Philadelphia sessions?
Well, the main thing was in my mind from listening to Bruce over the years, and even before I was a big fan, I always liked that Streets of Philadelphia sound.
Yeah,
And The Secret Garden, which was released obviously for the Jerry Maguire film. So both songs released for films. And always in the back of my mind was like, why didn't he record and release more songs like this? He's so good at it. And sort of looking at different songs he's done over the years, and I wonder, was that one of the songs that he recorded for the Philadelphia side? Now we know it wasn't because we've got an album here.
yeah.
But I just always thought that drum loop synthesizer really suited well with his voice. And over the years, and just thanks to social media, you pick up on these things. And I had heard "Waiting on the End of the World" quite a number of years ago, but the version that he done. He has the count to four that he does twice, the one, two, three, four, and then he does it again a few seconds later at the start. And it's the same song. The vocal just sounds slightly different on it and less polished, obviously, than this version.
Hmm.
And The Little Things is another song that I hadn't heard, but I knew it had been done before. A bit like Long Time Coming was done a way back, I think, on the Tom Joe tour. And I went looking for The Little Things on audio just last night, and every day is a school day at the Bruce College because I now found out that Little Things was performed 4 or 5 times in the Tom Joe tour, and it was actually performed in my hometown of Belfast.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I only found that out last night. You can hear a snippet of it on the nugs.net. So I think I'm going to purchase a whole show now that I know
Okay.
that. So yeah, it was done here in Belfast. Um, so obviously we had Secret Garden as well. We've known it for years, loved it for years, and we've probably seen on this album, which is the demo version, where it's played with the unnecessary drum loop.
Hmm.
There's no sax solo at the end of it, which we love. And also, there's a word missing from the song as well, from the Sun Over. So those three songs, sort of in and aware of, but very, very pleasantly surprised by what was left on the record as
Yeah.
well. Very, very pleasantly surprised. It's a great record.
Yeah. So, dealer's choice. Do you want to go
Hmm.
track by track? Do you want to talk more in simile? You tell me.
I think it has a natural intro and it has a natural ending. I mean, the last song's called Farewell Party, so I think it's one of those albums that actually is in chronological order.
Okay,
So I'll
let's do
talk
it.
through. Yeah, Blind Spot was the teaser track that was released, like some other tracks were over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
And the minute I heard it, I went, "This is the so-called hip hop album," which of course is not a hip hop album. It's a drum loop album and synth
Yeah.
album. And you know, what I heard of it, I thought was that's Bruce doing that great thing that he's done in terms of experimenting with other genres of music. International music like Worlds Apart, we heard in the Rising album,
Yeah.
and also Rocky Ground, where it featured a rap. So he's not afraid, despite his genre, his own genre, own age group, to go and delve into other areas. So I think it's very brave for an artist to do that, who is so associated with rock music. And yeah, it's just a cool song to play in the car as you're driving along. And it's sort of sounded a bit unfinished, a bit repetitive, maybe at first listen, but it's a good track. It's a good track. And it leads, it's a nice introduction to the album because the vocal comes in within the first 3 or 4 seconds as well. And it's
Hmm.
instantly, this is Bruce Springsteen and this is the old Bruce. This is the Philadelphia sound, that lovely synth sound on it. So great track. And then we lead into Maybe I Don't Know You. What I picked up on that, and I've been following a few comments on Facebook and some blogs that are going along. There seems to be a connection to this song with a song that was on Trex One, which is "Back in Your Arms."
Yeah.
And
I
yeah,
can see that.
yeah. So a lot of people have picked up on that. Met You with Indifference lyrics. So who knows? Is it two songs? Was it one song? Was it three songs? But at least two times, at least twice on this album, he uses the phrase disease and rhymes it with crawling on knees. So, despite it being a complete album, I think if he had have released it, he made some changes up on it, because it's sort of that's repeated. Not just that, right, but another few lyrics in the album. I suppose that's the process of songwriting. But again, it's just a great track. Something in the Well
So
then leads
a
into
couple of
go for
things
it.
I was going to talk. One, yeah, I do think, one of the things that as we were recording this, Brian Wilson died just a week or so ago, and he would often talk that like when once he started recording Pet Sounds and Smile, he would do that, right? He would record little parts. And then it was like a jigsaw puzzle. He wasn't sure, is this going to be an introduction to some song or is this going to be another song? And there is a website uh changing genres but not art and artists. There is websites available where you can see all the times Aaron Sorkin from West Wing, American President, Sports
Uh,
Night has reused the same dialogue in different,
yeah.
things. Where it's like he found a phrase he loved and then wanted to use it again. So I think that's kind of cool that, you know, like Bruce will, and I'll read interviews with writers that say they had an idea, wasn't fully formed, so they kind of set it aside. And then later they go, oh, well, here's a half-formed idea. Here's another half-formed idea. Maybe if I combine them, I could make a novel out of it or a series out of it. So yeah, I think that's really insightful to talk about, John. And yeah, well, good. So
Yeah,
back to,
it reminds
yeah,
me too of I remember meeting a guy outside Crook Park in Dublin years ago, who'd done 200 plus shows. In
yeah.
my eyes, a super fan, and we just sort of got chatting, and he right away says, "Do you know when the phrase 'dancing in the dark' was first used?" And I says, "Yeah, on the beach at Stockton's Wing." And he shook my hand and he says, "Yeah,
That's nice. All right,
yeah,
so
yeah."
something in the well. Thoughts on that one?
It's the voice right away was Youngstown and the thing of it, and very very much in the Tom Joad era,
Yeah.
and it's sort of it's a strange song in the middle of the album. To be fair, it seems to be a wee
Hmm.
bit off the rest of the thing. So I don't know. Again, was it really for this, or was it maybe for Devils and Dust? There's a lot of people commenting on Down in a Hole, which was on a later album. and
Yeah.
again, similar sound. So I think from what we'll be talking about, there is a lot of that going on in this album. There's no doubt about it. Where he's took some of the stuff he didn't release
Yeah.
and used it for other songs. But I'm just so glad that he did bring this back, because I do think it's a great, 10 songs for an album.
Yeah.
I do really
Very
do.
nice. Hmm.
But it's quite dark. The album goes from very, very much dark relationship, but there's always brightness at the end of the songs too. And I'll talk about there's a trilogy of songs later in the album, which it surprised me how good the songs were.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. He talked about in a couple of the interviews that he kind of mocked himself that, he writes love songs that are all they're having troubles, right? He doesn't write too, and he does. I think he's being partly tough on himself. I think there are plenty where he writes and there is a happy thing, but I also think he understands, one of my other favorite writers is John Hyatt. And in my podcast with Sylvan, we talked that John often talks about mature love, love that's past the passionate puppy love phrase, but, 10, 15 years in marriage where your partner may tick you off
yeah,
or be tired of your crap, but still appreciates you and loves you, for what you bring to the table.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. You're right. Waiting on the End of the World is another one that we've heard a version of. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, the minute I heard it, and yourself being a big Bruce Springsteen fan, we can tell a song by the countdown or the first beat of it. And this one
Yeah.
tricks you a bit because it's brilliant disguise. The first couple of drum beats,
Yeah.
it's identical, but then the synthesizer comes in. And you go, oh no, it's not. And yeah, it's as I say, it's more or less the same song that I heard a few years back, but just more finely tuned. But just a really nice, yeah, just a lovely sounding song. Yeah, really, really good. I'm glad he kept it on the album. Again, the album changes again and goes a bit quieter for the little things, which we discussed the Tom Joad being on. But I suppose this is a few times over the years. Bruce tries to do sexy Bruce, like he's done on
Yes.
Highway 29, later on Reno. So yeah, Highway 29 would be sort of in my top 10 Bruce Springsteen songs. It's like watching a movie. Um, the story, the setting, and just I was running, I was flying at the end. It's a beautiful song, and yeah, it just sort of reminds me of those sort of three songs that he's done. Point Blank as well comes to mind. That same sort of theme to it. But yeah, no, good song. Glad it's on the album. And coming next comes, which I think, in my own personal opinion, is a trilogy of songs.
Okay. Talk to
Uh,
me about that theory, John.
okay, so We Fell Down. The minute I heard it, I was like, why didn't he release this? This song's
Yeah.
incredible. This song is absolutely incredible. And then I proceeded to listen to it about 10 times. And what's great about it is the third verse. You think the
Hmm.
song's going to play out, and then the drum beat changes, and there's this moving on with life. Like life moves
Yeah.
on at the end of a relationship or a bad relationship or whatever the story is. And I just thought that was the sound of the.
All right. Now we got it. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, the drum beat changes, and suddenly the mood goes up. That the guy, the subject, is moving on in life, getting up, buttoning the shirt, combing his hair, and going to work. That life moves on, and the next song does exactly the same, but it's not about the relationship. It's about grief and about death and
Yeah.
that process of moving on. And the last song is Between Heaven and Earth, is a conclusion to that sort of circle of life, which I think is the theme of the album. Hard times go, hard times go, hard times come, hard times go, as they say in Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
But I have a confession to make. The Bruce Springsteen, if he ever listens to this, but I mocked the chorus of One Beautiful Morning with a friend one evening
Okay.
when we were discussing it, and I hadn't listened to the song properly. So I just heard this
Right.
chorus and I says, if he had have released that, that could have been the theme from Friends, and nobody would have heard of the Rembrandts. It just
Oh,
had
how
that
funny.
really upbeat. And then I listened to it and I felt bad because I've been through that song this past few weeks. I lost my father 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
listened to
sorry
this.
to hear that.
That's okay. Everything's good. It's okay. And again, on
Yeah.
that song is it gets to the other side of it where hopefully I am now. I'm going to.
Hmm.
And it's a special song. There, a lot of people online comment it would be a great opener for a show, and I'm thinking the opposite. I actually thinking that could have been on the Letter to You album. It could have been
Yeah.
on this last tour, and in fact, I can play a little bit of guitar, but I think that song would be beautifully arranged acoustically, and would
Yeah.
have fit it very, very well. Maybe instead of the remind me the last song
Hmm.
of the tour he plays.
Yeah.
I'll see you in my dreams. It would have
Right.
been a nice
Yes.
alternative because there's a more nice, positive sort of theme to it. And I would like to see him do that one day. I thought it would have been a very nice conclusion to the tour, maybe. But here, who knows? Bruce is Bruce and he's the boss at the end of the
Yeah.
day. But I do think that's my pick of the album is those three songs in a row. We Fell Down, One Beautiful Morning, Between Heaven and the Sea, inextricably linked. And I think it's a beautiful, 12, 15 minutes maybe on the
Hmm.
record. And if I had the vinyl, it would have been warped by now with so few songs.
Yeah.
So I've been working with the digital download. No, when I heard it, I think that's probably one of the moments where Stevie Van Zandt has been screaming at Bruce Springsteen, going, "Why haven't you released this?" You know.
Hmm.
Although reading just this morning, there somebody shared the Rolling Stone interview, so
Yeah.
we're now aware that there's going to be Tracks 3 coming.
Yeah. Which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. I don't know. He just never stops. He just works and works and works. And I suppose that's the reason why I love Bruce Springsteen so much. Is I think he's trying to show other artists and other genres there's something beyond the music you do every day and every year, whereby he's sort of saying if there's no money in making records, you have to tour to make some money. But it's not
Yeah.
just touring. You can write books, you can do outtakes, you can sell your shows, which he's doing on nubs.net. You can do film scores, you can write, but there's just so much other stuff. It's more just showing that you're an artist, you're not just a musician.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
he's a great example. A great example.
Yeah. And I do, um, you know, it's kind of a one thing to the idea that he's had at least 7 albums in the closet just waiting,
Yeah.
right? Is just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it truly is crazy. Like, what else were you leaving off, right? Like, what in because I, I keep 5 or 6 episodes in the bank because I never know what I'm going to run into. But then I'm
Yeah.
supposed to put out an episode, 1 or 2 episodes a week. You know, it, once you've got a couple albums in the bank, you're set because you put them out for
Yeah.
1 year. So I think it's interesting. One, I love the gift that he shared us. Okay, I'm going to let you see what I've been, kind of saving.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much work he did because as we talked about a couple of these, John, we do go, well, this feels like this song's a little unfinished,
Yeah.
right? But he put at least some work into, I mean, there's artwork, there's finished. It
Yeah.
isn't just a collection of assorted outtakes. So yeah, it's a pretty fun gift and to see where he's at that point.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't just find them on the back of the couch. There's been a bit of work put into this. Okay.
Yeah, like, oh wow, I'd
Yeah.
forgotten these files.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
funny, reading the Rolling Stone interview this morning there, he's very clear on why he didn't release it. And the reason really
yeah,
was given. was his time of life whereby his kids were small. That's good to hear. That you
Yeah.
get your priorities right, but also that he'd done Tunnel of Love and Human Touch, and in his
Yeah.
opinion, some of that music wasn't received so well. Maybe back at
Yeah.
that time, and
Hmm.
I suppose there's when you read that, you sort of go, yeah, I could get that because he might be typecast as that's the guy that just sings about breakups. He used to sing about
Yeah.
cars and girls. Now he sings about breaking up with girls. And, that's what
Yeah.
he's all about. So I can see why he got away from that. And then obviously he recorded Tom Joad in the mid 90s. Um,
Yeah.
Funny, I just had a memory flashback there of seeing the show where the Little Things was played in Belfast. I remember being I must have been 18 or 19. I remember
Yeah.
seeing in the classifieds in the newspaper that Bruce Springsteen was playing. And I remember looking at the newspaper. Times were tough in Belfast back then, Jesse. I'm sure you're aware of our history.
Yeah.
And I remember being 19 and going, why is Bruce Springsteen playing in this shithole? And now we can listen to it. But yeah, he has his reasons for it. So yeah, we're here now. I've also read, sorry to go off the Philadelphia sessions there, but
No, 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 you're please.
I think she was maybe referring to the Faithless album, that's Paddy Skelfa's argument with him that should have been released. But again, that was to be part of a film score that was made and a book was made, I believe, and so forth, and never
Yeah.
happened. But that's out of the casual listening that I look back to. Again, there's like it's not there's like an instrumental song, Prayers by the River or something, and then it leads into
Yeah.
like sort of gospel stuff that he's very, 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 very good at. Really, really good at that music. We've seen Seeger Sessions tours, and we've seen him do that sort of thing with My City of Ruins on recent tours. And again, like at the start of the conversation, he's very good at the drum loop synth sound. He's really good at that gospel prayer song type music too. So yeah, it's all there in the vault.
Yeah, it is. Um, what next?
Secret Garden touched on. We have what I believe is the unfinished version on the Philadelphia session because we know the one that was released for the Jerry Maguire soundtrack, and
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody I've ever met who doesn't love that song. You
Right.
know, or love that film, by the way, or that movie, as you call it in
Yeah,
the
that's
States.
true.
Yeah,
And it is kind of funny because the radio hit had the dialogue from the film.
yeah,
It was it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I loved that film. I loved how the song worked with it
yeah,
and how well it was done.
yeah,
And once again, you know, Bruce has so many different possible careers he could have done.
yeah.
Like Little Steven said, if he wanted to be a pop songwriter, he could have. He could have written tons of pop songs for other people.
Mhm.
I think from here, and I haven't spent that much time with Faithless yet either, because I'm
Mhm.
kind of waiting till we actually, till I'm talking about each of them.
Sure.
Uh, but, you know, based on this Jerry Maguire and Streets of Philadelphia, you know, he could have been a brilliant like Randy Newman,
Yeah,
who has this whole second career as doing soundtracks.
yeah. I
So yeah,
remember.
absolutely.
Yeah, and any of the other songs that we know were for movies, and Lift Me Up is probably a good example of something that I would have associated with this genre, with the synth on it. And I remember during the Christmas
Yeah.
holidays and having too much turkey and sort of being very sleepy at 1 in the morning and waking up and whoever was in the room was finishing watching this film Limbo. And
Yeah.
I just woke up and went, that's Bruce Springsteen. But
Yeah.
there's no music playing. There is, wait. And it was the hum of the seaplane, I think it starts with. And that's the conclusion of the
Yeah.
film. And then you just hear his falsetto voice. People are looking at me going, that's insane.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is, it is. But no, it's definitely a first draft. As I say, the drum loop was taken out of the final version. And then the
Yeah.
saxophone, beautiful saxophone solo at the end was included. I'm guessing, is that Clarence Clements that solo? I'm not actually sure. I'm guessing it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just something I noticed again, just listening back again, was one of my favorite lines in the song, "You've gone a million miles. How far did you get?" In this version, it just says, "Gone a million miles. How far did you get?"
Hmm.
So something as simple as that he changes to make something just shows the perfectionist that Bruce Springsteen is in music. That just those subtle changes. And yeah, it's a song that's rarely played. I've never seen him do it live. I don't think I will ever see him do it live. I suppose it's a bit like Streets of Philadelphia. You need to be in Philadelphia to hear Streets of Philadelphia. He doesn't pull it out very, very often on his tours, but it would be a very special moment if he ever did. Um, Although he has mentioned maybe doing a tour with an orchestra in the coming years.
Yes.
Uh, so that would be interesting because hopefully we do a bit of Western Stars, maybe something like Secret Garden, and my favorite Bruce Springsteen song, which is New York City Serenade. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, that was my only. I loved Western Stars and loved the film, but
yeah,
my only complaint, because I'm selfish, is that similar to when he did the Seeger sessions with the Seegers band, they ended up throwing in other Springsteen songs in that
yeah,
style. I would have loved for him on that film to added five or six Springsteen, like he did Rhinestone Cowboy, which was wonderful.
yeah,
It would have been nice to see either three or four more covers, or as you talk about, Serenade or a
yeah.
couple other songs in that style would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. But again, there's just so much, pardon the pun, strings to his bow. And
Yeah.
can't do everything. But yeah, it's very impressive to watch, particularly because it was recorded in his own home barn as well. It would been a privilege to be in that room.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so and then we wrap it up with Farewell Party, and I do think that's a great way to end the album. I do love that it seems like Bruce always likes to leave us with a happy thought, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So please share some more.
Um, my sort of take on it's a song about letting go, moving
Yeah,
on. And what I did notice in the song was the lyrics, because there's a couple of things on it that I had to sort of look up myself. What is that? That it's a Harley Davidson, it's referred to
yeah.
in the first line. I really just there's more to the lyrics, and that's why it's sort of, I'm thinking "Devils and Dust." Where there's a lot of words, a lot of detail in the lyrics. I'm just sort of thinking it's sort of that sort of album.
Hmm.
Just because it's just so much more detailed than any other song. Because I discussed earlier that there was a reputation of this disease, crawling on knees and stuff, whereas this is much more detailed of a lyric.
Yeah.
And if not later in Devils and Dust, earlier in Tom Joad. But yeah, it's just a nice wind down of a song, and even given the title there, it's just a beautiful conclusion.
Hmm.
When it's finished, it's finished. It sounds like the last song, and that's why I said we'll do this in chronological order, rather than shuffling as the kids do today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great song, and I don't know, is it a Devils and Dust outtake? Is it a Tom Joad outtake? Who knows? We'll never know. But yeah, it's just a great conclusion to the album, and I've waited years for this, and I'm pleasantly, pleasantly surprised, I have to say. Um, just
Yeah,
really, really good.
I'm right there with you that, this is such a gift, and I, have been really enjoying the, as I'm going through this deep dive, um, seeing these what if, one of the things that it would have been interesting to what if he had released any of these,
Yeah.
and what would have it happened to his career? And so I've really loved kind of seeing this alternate timeline, so to speak, and enjoying that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as I said at the start, I started becoming a big fan around 2000 when now wife, but girlfriend then, bought me the live 75, 85 album for my birthday.
Yeah.
And again, I done a deep dive and just started collecting CDs as they were then. And just get really deep into his music. But at no time was I expecting to see Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band come back.
Yeah.
They'd done the reunion tour, brought out some live DVDs, and then when the Rising album came out, the fact that he announced he was touring, I was like, we have to go and see Bruce Springsteen. You might never see him again. And
Yeah,
that's
there you
been,
go.
and my wife reminds me of this all the time. Every time he plays, goes, "You told me that in 2003."
There was a cartoon of on Facebook. I think it was the start of the 23 tour, and the same premise, right? You see the husband, and then the wife, and she's kind of, don't give me that shit. You've been saying that this may be the last time we've seen Bruce since 99, and it's like, well, it's still, we need to
Yeah,
it's the reason why you hug your family as you're leaving the house, right? That it may be the last time. Not You don't hope so and you don't think so, but you never know.
yeah. No, it's always good. I like to say that Bruce comes to see us. We're not going to see Bruce.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, Bruce, come see us. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
because when
Uh-huh.
he visits Ireland, he does, in fairness, get out and about. And he does a
Yeah.
bit of traveling, and he's seen in different. He drinks in the long haul bar in Dublin when he's over, and he goes to his ancestral town as well, which has been twinned with Freehold officially last week, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does a lot of that. So he's a great friend of Ireland. He's played all over Ireland, up here in the north in Belfast. I've seen him a few times. Um, it's great to see him in different genres too. Seeger sessions, solo and acoustic, and of course with the E Street Band. But
Yeah.
I'm I'm very much Bruce does what Bruce wants to do, and out of all the times that I've seen him, easily the best show that I seen him was in 2005 on the Devil's Industrial. That, as I say, 5 years into becoming a fan, and it was just so special and really, really good seats. So it was spitting distance, and he just
Yeah.
came out wearing this grey suit. He looked good, and to do that show on his own, play every single instrument. I mean, he opened up with "My Beautiful Reward" on a pump organ, and then
Yeah.
he played "Reason to Believe" using this voice box thing that was the strangest thing at the time. Watching somebody do, and then he put on the guitar and he started doing Devils and Dust, and the place just erupted. It was basically a genius at work.
Yeah.
Never forget it. Great, 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 great show. And then saying everything, everything this guy touches, everything this guy touches. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that was the moment.
Good. Well, any final thoughts about this one or the
Um, I just think I, I think this album I can't speak for the rest of them, but I think it needs talked about, and I think it needs shared to people and played. I think we fell down needs to be released as a single.
yeah.
So more people hear it, and I just think people need to hear this genre of Bruce Springsteen. I think younger people would enjoy it as well. Coming through, because the danger when you release so many albums at one time is I remember listening to the first tracks, the full box set coming through, and you're on a seat and you're doing a lot of fast forward, play to the next song.
Yeah.
There could be a bit of that going on, especially today's generation who listen to music digitally, who make me listen album by album. And
Yeah.
I noticed I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I've noticed when she started getting into music, she's really big into music. And let's say she was listening to bands like the Smiths, Nirvana, and I heard her listening to Nirvana about a girl. I says, "How did you know about a girl?" She went, "It was just on the playlist." And I said, "That's interesting because most people, when I was a teenager in the early '90s, people just listened to the Nevermind album, and that was it." But
Yeah.
because of the technology now, kids are shuffling, they're hearing stuff, they're learning stuff by looking and going, they're listening to the songs that are David Bowie originally. And it's, oh, who's David Bowie? Looking so, you know, as much as the industry's changed, a lot of people for the worse, there's some advantages to the new way of workings there now, in terms of discovering new artists, certainly.
Yeah, one of the things I try to do is if I find a new artist I like and I test, um, then I will try to go find a way to support them financially, right? Like if you
Yeah.
listen to it on Spotify or whatever that's free, then you
Yeah.
try to find a way, okay, well, let me go buy their albums or let me do some stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Um, John, this was so much fun. Thank you for a different take on this album. I'm really looking forward to it. And hey, don't hesitate to send me some thoughts on the others as you start exploring the
I will
box
do.
set, okay?
I will do. No
All
problem at
right,
all,
will
Jesse. Thank
do.
you so much. Take care. Have a
Yeah,
good day.
no, and all right, talk to you soon, my friend. Bye-bye.
Take care. All the best. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. Let me know what you think. Setlustingbruce@gmail.com. And for now, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.